Have you ever been called extra? Maybe you're just slightly extra, and everyone else is just giving bare minimum. Food for thought. Cheers, babe.
Let's go.
Do what I say, don't do what I do. Heels so high, can't walk in my shoes. Life is a game, I win, I don't lose. I don't lose.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Slightly Extra. I am so excited, but I am also so nervous. So you better be nice to me because this is my very first time recording a podcast episode solo. So I have to sit here and talk for a while. So please give me some grace here, okay? I am your host, Leanne Gonzalez. Well, okay. Legally Gonzalez. That is my maiden name. My husband's last name is Delgado, and I have not legally changed my last name yet, so I feel like I have a little bit of an identity crisis there, Gonzalez Delgado. And actually, this leads me into my first segment, which is a segment I want to start every episode off with, and this just leads me into a slightly extra moment. These segments are just going to be a slightly extra moment that I've had during the week, something that I saw online that was slightly extra, something slightly extra about me, something slightly extra happening in the world. But this is a good segue into just giving you guys a little bit more information about who I am and just how fucking extra I am, because I'm pretty sure when I say this out loud, you guys are all going to think I'm fucking ridiculous. But I have not changed my last name, not because I don't love the last name. Delgado, beautiful last name. In fact, one of my best friends' last name is Delgado. And I mean, if I changed my name, we'd practically be sisters. So that is a big plus. Also, not because I don't admire and love my husband. Of course, he's the love of my life. I want to have his last name, but okay. I feel really dumb because as I'm like thinking this, I am already thinking I need to book my next therapy session because this is going to sound insane. And also I need to go touch grass because this is absolutely so stupid. I don't want to change my license picture. I look fucking good in it, okay? It is a really good license picture. That sounds so dumb. It sounds so vain. No, it literally is, but it's so good. And I'm really not just saying this, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but I swear to God, when I have to give my license to people, because I get ID'd all the time, I feel like not only do I probably look like I'm 15 and could be a sophomore in high school, but I'm also really fucking short, barely hitting 5 feet, okay? So I get ID'd all the time. And I'm not just saying this, but people, most times make a comment like, oh shit, damn, that's a good ID photo. And I'm like, I know, right? And I have friends who have changed their last names and they're like, oh, but I didn't even have to change my picture. You just do everything online or whatever. But honestly, I'm not willing to risk it for the biscuit. I'm just not. I hated my other ID pictures. They were horrendous. As everyone knows, ID pictures are so fucking hard and tricky because it's a one and done. So yeah, it's not like Victoria Beckham when she went and was like posing like so posh of her. And the lady was like, ma'am, you need to chill. This is a DMV. It's a one and done shot. Yeah. So, and I used to use the excuse that it was like way too difficult to change it. Like you have to change your social security, your passport. It's like so many documents, but that's not even an excuse anymore because there are companies who just send you a package and it's just like, you just mail it all out at once. So there are companies that make it easier for you. I like how I look. I think I look good. And you can think I'm absolutely ridiculous and so fucking extra and so dumb because I think that, but I don't care. So yeah, if that gives you any indication of the type of person I am and what you're going to get on this podcast, I think you know where we're heading there. Okay, so maybe like a little intro about maybe not even me, but maybe just like the podcast itself. Why Slightly Extra? Well, as you could have probably or can probably pick up by now, I'm slightly extra. I am dramatic. I've been called dramatic my whole life. So, I mean, there you go. I love anything pop culture, reality TV, celeb stuff. That's all extra. We're going to be getting into some of that during our episodes. And yeah, obviously, I feel like most people who are going to be watching this are women. And as we know, society has always deemed women to be over the top, dramatic, too much, so extra. So yeah, slightly extra. I added the slightly in there just to make myself and everyone else listening feel a little better, but we all know we're over the top dramatic. So that's okay. But anyway, I think that's a pretty good segue into our first topic. And it's around women always being called extra and dramatic and too much. It's no secret that women expressing strong emotions are often labeled as dramatic, while men are labeled as passionate. And that is just so fucking frustrating to me. And just to like show you even a little more how fucking frustrated that is, there was a Harvard Business Review study that said that women expressing strong emotions at work are 3 times more likely to be perceived as too much. And as a corporate girly and as someone who has been in the corporate world for over a decade, and I can imagine people who aren't even in the corporate world, who are in other professions, maybe not, I experienced that so much. I see men get angry sometimes in meetings, or like I've seen them, or just be very strong and firm. And that's just seen and viewed as really great leadership. And then I've seen women open up as well and get emotional and be vulnerable. And they're seen as weak. They're seen as, oh, can she do the job? Can she perform? Maybe we should be questioning if she's right for the role. And I just don't think that's fair. And to confuse us even more, there was another Harvard Business Review study after that study in 2016 that then found that expressive women are seen as charismatic and memorable leaders. Okay, that's A, total mindfuck. And B, isn't it wild that the very same qualities that make women stand out as memorable leaders can also get them labeled as too much? Hello, no wonder we're always fucking second guessing ourselves. It's like a double-edged sword. There's clearly a double standard, but expressing yourself authentically can actually be a strength. The same expressiveness some dismiss can sometimes make you more memorable, make you more human, make you more influential. I think this is a classic case of you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. There was another survey that found that 65% of women felt discouraged from expressing anger or frustration because it would make them seem dramatic. I cannot tell you how much this resonates with me. My entire life, I have been called dramatic. I've been called too much. I've literally been told by someone, and I'm not going to give any context, obviously, but I have been told by someone that a certain group of people in my life at one point didn't like me, or I rubbed them the wrong way because I was just too much. And that was always a huge, huge insecurity of mine. I grew up in a very conservative, for one, but I am also Latina. So I grew up in a Hispanic household. And if you're Hispanic or if you're Latina, you know that people are always, or your mom is always reminding you, or people in your family, your elders are always reminding you, ¿qué van a decir la gente? Like, what are the people going to say? What's everyone going to think about this? And that's always been in the back of my mind and engraved in my head. And it took me a really long time to get to a place where I felt comfortable with just being myself. I look back at when I was a little girl and how it's weird because actually I was a very shy little girl, and it's because I had a lot of emotions. I am someone who I feel things very deeply. I'm an empath. And at the same time, I'm very expressive. I was always a very dramatic girl growing up. I mean, if you guys saw my journal entry, or if you would to ever see any journal entries, you guys would probably think I'm a psychopath and need to be in a psych ward. But that's a whole other story. But because I have so many emotions and because I felt things so deeply, I expressed it. You know, I didn't have I was emotionally dysregulated. So I never knew how to regulate my emotions. So when I felt very passionately about something, it was just word vomit. And I'm like, but this is wrong. And I always was standing up for things that I believed were wrong. And I always wanted to call people out on their shit and express how I felt because, hello, I mean, okay, just to give you a little context too, I'm an Aries sun and a Leo moon. So my emotions are important as a Leo moon. If you know, you know. But anyway, I ended up suppressing those feelings and I ended up kind of, in a sense, closing myself off to everyone. I would second guess everything I would do. And because of that, I then turned into a shy child, which I feel like by no means am I a shy person now. For the people that know me, I'm not a shy person at all, but I was a shy child. And then as I got older, I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to express myself. And yeah, people didn't fucking like that. People said I was too much and I'm too obnoxious. And it's really sad because at the time I cared so much. I cared so much what those people thought about me, what my classmates thought about me, what society thought about me. And it literally, it dominated my world. It dominated my life. It dominated everything. Like I was so stressed and unwell because of it. And honestly, I hate to admit, and I'm embarrassed to admit that that's how I led the majority of my life, was caring. It was like, oh my gosh, she said, what about me? Why would she say that? And then immediately trying to call this person and that person and that person to reconcile or to prove that I wasn't who they thought I was, to prove that like, hey, I'm actually a good person. I'm not crazy. And I spent a lot of time doing that to the point where it literally drove me mad. I had a breaking point and I finally realized that, you know what? I can't control what people are going to think of me. I could literally walk into a room and be the Stepford housewife that they all want me to be and just be a very poised, beautiful, well-mannered young lady. And they would probably still think the same thing of me. They would still think I was crazy. They would still think I was dramatic. I finally realized that I can't control what other people think of me. So I stopped giving a fuck. And it sounds way easier said than done. It was a really tough journey for me. I really had to think about why I cared so much. I mean, obviously I went to therapy, but I was just done giving power to those people. I gave them all the power on a silver platter. I go, here, you control all my feelings and my emotions, and you dictate how I feel about myself. That is so fucking sad. And so I went to therapy. And it was great because I actually felt validated. And I learned that I can't control others, but what I can control and who I can control is myself. And I'm just going to not let those people dictate how I feel anymore. And I'm not going to give a shit. So what did I do? I worked on myself. I improved myself. I started surrounding myself with people who actually loved me, who loved me for me, who loved that dramatic, extra, too much, oh my God, Leanne, you're so dramatic, but I love it energy, not, oh my God, Leanne, you're so dramatic. I actually have a really funny story. When I was younger, I, as you know, was very dramatic, very extra, and I broke my arm at a birthday party and no one believed me. Everyone was just like, oh my God, there she goes again, being so dramatic. She literally just tripped and probably sprained her wrist. And I was crying and crying and crying. And my mom was like, okay, like, yeah, we need to take this girl to the hospital. And they did. And guess what? I came back the next day with a cast and everyone was like, oh, so you weren't just being dramatic, you were being for real. And I'm like, yeah, guys, I broke my fucking wrist. Okay. But yeah, if you learn anything from that, just learn that you are giving these people the power to control your emotions. If you are triggered by them calling you dramatic, reframe the narrative in your mind. Am I too dramatic, or do I just give a shit? Am I too dramatic, or do I just stand up for what's right? Am I too dramatic, or am I actually validating my feelings and calling you out on your bullshit, but you don't want to face it? That's it. It's plain and fucking simple. And if they're triggered by your dramatics, then that says more about them than it will ever say about you. And on a positive note of being too dramatic or too much, A 2015 study found that emotional expressiveness is linked to stronger bonds and resilience, which makes total fucking sense. I mean, I think of my friendships and the strong bonds that I have with all of my friends. It's not because we're surface level. It's not because we're like, oh, you look pretty, or you're so cute, or I love your hair. Where'd you get your top? It's so cute. It's in those moments that you really open up and you're extremely vulnerable with your friends when you connect. And not just your friends, that's in relationships, that's with your family members, that's with anyone. I think back to a time where I was really going through shit and I was very closed off and I didn't want to open up to my friends about anything because A, I was kind of embarrassed, and B, I just didn't want to burden them with all of the shit that was going on, all of my heavy baggage. And I felt so fucking isolated from my friends. I honestly felt like I didn't have friends, even though they were there and we spoke about, just the good shit. How are you? Oh my gosh, did you see this? How's this, girl? Let's go out, but let's not talk about all the deep shit. And then I realized I am so fucking lonely and I could actually use the support. So I reached out to my friends and I told them everything, like word vomit of what I was going through. And oh my gosh, it was amazing because not only was I able to lean on them, but they were able to show up as a friend. And I hadn't been giving them that opportunity. When you are vulnerable, you emotionally connect with someone. And when you emotionally connect someone, that bonds you guys so much closer. I think of when my husband and I have gotten into arguments and we've had to sit down because, as you know, if you've been in any sort of long-term marriage or relationship, whatever it is, you know that there's ebbs and flows. You know that there are great times and there are really fucking tough times because that's just life and that's every relationship and that's every marriage. And those times where we've had to sit down and really open up to each other and not just be honest and be respectful, but be vulnerable and have those really tough conversations about our feelings, that's when we've connected so much more. And I always think of it as like a really tight rope. Like, what are those ropes called? Those ropes called that are like a Twizzler. I'm going to sound so stupid. But anyway, you're making that rope tighter so it's harder to fucking break. I even think of at work. As I said, I am a corporate girly. And what I love about a lot of companies nowadays is that they're really enforcing showing up as your authentic self, which I think is great. And I've noticed that I have two different approaches to work sometimes. And I would be very excited to hear how you guys approach your work relationships. But I am either just professional, just business, and that's it. Or there are moments where I open up and I share a little more about myself. And I actually find that in those moments, I appreciate my work better. I'm able to really connect more with my coworkers. And overall, I'm just happier day to day at work because I like work more because I'm connecting more with the people I'm working with. I used to literally always just keep it business as usual, business only, and not open up. And I noticed that it felt cold and it felt kind of lonely too. Like you're kind of in a silo and honestly fake. It felt fake. But when you open up and you kind of give a little bit of yourself, and it doesn't have to be a lot. Obviously, your coworker is not your therapist. You're not going to word vomit your deepest, darkest secrets, but you're going to say, hey, yeah, I have a husband. I have a dog. I have kids. We're going here. We're going there on vacation. This is my mom's name. This is my sister's name. Here's a little bit about me. I just think that just opens up such a really great doorway to connect with people. And it ties into the whole, like, if you are more emotionally expressive, you build better bonds. Think about people. And I've known a lot of these people who are just very surface level and you cannot fucking connect with them. No matter how hard I try. It's so funny because I say this to people all the time, and like the girlies who get it, where I'm just like, I can't connect with her. I can't vibe with her. And I can never in the past, I could never put my finger as to why I couldn't connect with certain girls. And then I realized that it's because I cannot connect with surface level girls. I think of how I started all my friendships and sorry, because I'm thinking of like one friend in particular and how we started our friendship. And that was way too like TMI. I'm not going to say it, but I think of how I started all of my friendships started. And it's because we connected emotionally. It wasn't surface level. It was like, hey, how are you? So I have anxiety and I think I'm pretty much clinically depressed. Like, what about you? And we just opened up to each other and boom, best friends. And not to toot my own horn or not to brag, but all of my best friends I have been best friends with for 15 plus years. So, and I have a big group of girlfriends that I love so dearly. So also, here's the part that I actually love the most is that emotional expressiveness, or we're going to call it being dramatic or being too much, isn't just about building stronger bonds. It's also about being resilient. When you actually let yourself feel and express what you're going through, you're able to process it. You're able to bounce back way quicker. And like we've already talked about, you get more support from the people around you, which makes you fucking happier. Suppressing emotions does not make you stronger. In fact, it stresses you out even more. And I would even say it's more work to hold everything in than to just let it all out. Being vulnerable, being emotionally expressive, how we're calling it, but really it's just being extra. It's being too much. That's a strength. You are so much stronger for opening up and being your true, authentic self than you would ever be if you were to just suppress all of your emotions. Oh, and another really great study and point is that women who are labeled dramatic often show higher signs of emotional intelligence and empathy. I mean, literally, the very thing that people are rolling their eyes about is actually your fucking superpower. It makes you're more tuned in, you're more connected, you're able to read the room better. It makes you a better friend, partner, coworker, leader, sister, brother, whatever the fuck, mother, father. So that's a big fucking win. So if you've taken away anything from this, and I hope you have, if you're a dramatic person or you just express yourself so deeply. And okay, I will say too, because like, I'm not saying being dramatic is always just an okay thing because like I had mentioned, there are moments and I will only speak for myself, but I'm sure maybe some of you can relate where I have expressed myself and maybe I was too over the top. Maybe I did take it to the next level and that's fine. Like I said in the past, there were moments where I was emotionally dysregulated. However, that's where the work comes in and you work on yourself. And I'm here to tell you that your feelings are accurate and your feelings matter. And if you feel like you're maybe sometimes expressing yourself and it's not landing, it could be one of two things. A, you're with the fucking wrong group of people. Like if you've actually done the work and you've gone to therapy and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm just being myself, then A, those are not your fucking people, babe. Go find someone else. Those bitches hate you and they're not your true friends. Or B, maybe take the time, and I think everyone should do this regardless because I think it's a fabulous, take the time to do some self-reflection and to work on yourself because there's nothing wrong with that. And the only way you get better is by improving yourself because I guarantee you all these other people that you're trying to please are not doing any fucking work on themselves. So you're just going to come out 10 times better and 10 times stronger, but never, ever, ever stop being your little cute extra self. So by embracing your full personality, being your authentic self, you're going to improve your self-esteem. And overall, you're just going to be so much happier. I look back on the times that I tried to suppress who I really was because I was just too much and nobody liked me because I was too dramatic. And looking back, I feel for myself. I feel sorry for myself. Like I want to cry a little bit and shed a tear for that girl because I was miserable and I wasn't happy and I was suppressing who I really was to please others, but at what fucking cost? At what cost? My happiness, my peace of mind. And honestly, guys, it's a fucking journey. And as you probably have picked up a little bit by now, my journey was very much started with suppressing, which led to insecurity and self-esteem issues. I literally would say something and immediately, and I'm guilty of still doing this now, where I say something and I'm like, oh my gosh, was that too much? I shouldn't have said that. And then I freak out and I ask someone like, was that okay? Should I not have said that? Did I act too weird? Was I too much? Was I too extra? I was so insecure. And then I finally got to a point, because there was one point in my life where shit fucking hit the fan. And that's when I told you guys I went to therapy, I did the work, I improved myself. That's when I got into the acceptance stage. And the acceptance stage of, one, accepting that I am a lot and I am dramatic and I am too much. And if you don't fucking like that and I'm not your fucking cup of tea, like Amaya from Love Island, don't fucking drink it, bitch. You want chamomile tea? I'm an English breakfast, okay? Like, don't fucking drink it. And B, acceptance that I had to accept that I would never be able to convince people to like me, because people already have their minds made up about you, whether you like it or not. And you are wasting time, you're wasting precious energy, you're wasting your happiness by trying to prove them otherwise. It's just not going to happen. And so I had to sit back and I had to accept that for majority of my life, I was doing that. And I felt stupid. I felt like a fucking idiot, honestly. I really did. But you know what comes after that? And that's the best fucking part, is empowerment. Because I cannot tell you how empowered I feel now to just truly feel comfortable in my own skin. And it has taken me, I am 34 years old, and there's still so much work that I need to do on myself. But I am so happy that I'm finally at a fucking point where I feel empowered and I actually feel like I love myself and I'm embracing my dramatics. I'm embracing my extraness. Like, I love it now when people call me dramatic, or my friends just already know, like, oh, Lan's gonna be so dramatic about this, but in the best way possible, not in a bad way, just because they love it and they genuinely love me. And I can feel that. And so surrounding myself with those people who accept me for me is just so fucking amazing. And that's so empowering. It's honestly like not even just because I internally feel empowered, but I feel empowered because I have surrounded myself by people who just support me and embrace it with me. I used to literally shrink or feel small when people called me dramatic, but now I just embrace that energy as part of who I am, because it's not just part of who I am, it is who I am. I've been like this my whole life. You guys, I wrote a poem in like 10th grade when my life was literally fucking perfect called My Hell Life. I am dramatic. I literally get in one fight with my husband. My husband is just like, oh, it's just a silly fight. And I'm literally crying and I'm like, I think it's over. And I think I need to start packing my bags. And I call my friends and they're like, Lan, you are so dumb. Like, that man loves you. He married you. And I'm like, no, but like, you don't understand. It's like over. I'm like calling my mom to see if I can have the guest bedroom. Like, this is just who I am. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. That's fine. But that's who I am. And it's okay because I have found my people and I've embraced it, and I have embraced being extra, and I'm happy with it. And so if you take anything away from this, yes, do the work on yourself, obviously, and always try to improve yourself and try to regulate your emotions if you feel like it's consuming, because I did at one point feel like it was consuming me, and I was like, okay, I understand I'm dramatic, but let me try to regulate myself a little bit and try to just like get myself to a point where it's not stressing me out and I'm not losing my mind over it. And once you get to that point, find the people who truly love you and who support you, and find your own little group of dramatic bitches, because all my friends talk shit about me being dramatic, but those bitches are just as dramatic, if not more than I am. So keep being extra. And with that, I'm going to take a quick sip of wine because I feel like I've been talking for a while, but we are going to lead into our next segment that I want to call the slightly extra headline segment. So this is where I'm going to talk about a little bit about reality TV, maybe some shows I'm watching, some pop culture shit that's popping off, maybe not everything because I don't want my episodes to be so long because gosh, the sound of my voice for a really long time is probably so obnoxious. Okay, one sec. Crisp. Okay. Guys, it's Friday. It's Friday night at like 10 p.m. probably. So I'm trying here. I'm trying to keep the energy up. But okay. First thing I want to start with, I don't know if this is pop culture, kind of is. Okay. I just finished the summer. I turned pretty. Okay. I have thoughts. I was not obsessed with the last season overall, and I know most people felt this, is that I felt like we got a lot more of Jeremiah and Belly versus Jeremiah and Conrad, which is what everyone wanted. But I will say kudos to Jenny Han for that last episode because I feel like it did feed the craving of the Belly and Conrad that we wanted. I will say I'm really excited and happy that we didn't get any lines from Conrad like, Belly, who are you? You cut your hair, Belly? Who are you? Because I just feel like that's been him all fucking season. And poor guy, I will say this, everyone's been way too fucking harsh on him all season. Like, can we cut Conrad a break? He was going through shit, and who the fuck was there for him? Like, I know he broke Belly's heart, but damn, cut him some slack. I did love this last episode, though. I'm just going to talk about the last episode because I honestly loved the way that he showed up to Paris and spent the day with her and then went to her birthday dinner that her friends threw for her and was just sitting there and admiring her and letting her be in her element. I thought that was so cute, and I thought that was such growth from him. So I loved that. The moment where they, started getting all hot and steamy and sexy with Taylor Swift's song Dress. Oh my gosh, that shit just fucking hit. I loved it. Thank you, Jenny Han, because she finally gave us what we wanted. However, Belly was such a fucking biatch to him afterwards, and poor Conrad was so insecure. Like, did I do something wrong? And she's like, I just don't know if I'll ever be sure. And then 2 seconds later, she looks at that fucking teddy bear with the infinity necklace, and then obviously she goes and runs and chases him to the train, and then they ride off into the sunset or to Cousins Beach. So that was amazing, and I loved that. I liked everything else about the last episode. I think they wrapped it up very nicely, even though we're going to get a movie. But okay, one thing I do have a bone to pick on or with or whatever is Denise and Jeremiah. Why? Just why? Like, I just felt like that was so unnecessary. I will say I knew that was coming, and I think a lot of people could pick up on it. And I don't know if a lot of people noticed this, but in the second to last episode, I think the Christmas night or the Christmas Eve night when Jeremiah is at their apartment and just sulking in the bed, all depressed, Denise was wearing a red cardigan. Okay. Same red cardigan that in that episode Belly was wearing at the restaurant in Paris after it closed. So I think Jenny Han gave us a little Easter egg there that they would eventually come together and be together. But yeah, no, I don't like it. And not because I don't like Denise. I love Denise. In fact, I love her character way more than I love Jeremiah's character. I just feel like we did not need to pair him up with anyone. Why couldn't it have just been that he fell in love with cooking and being an awesome fucking chef and he found his passion there and moved on from Belly? Why? And she's going to go to San Francisco. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that he's probably going to go to San Francisco too because Taylor does his PR or whatever. So anyway, yeah. So, okay. Something else that I want to hit on, and this is not new news by any means, but it's really big news to me because I am a huge Vampire Diaries fan, but Nina Dobrev and Shaun White obviously called off their engagement. It was rumored that he had cheated on her, and everyone really ran with that headline. I personally didn't know what to believe because no one had said anything. I don't even know how people came to that conclusion. But I forgot who it was. Was it like People or someone reported that someone close to them, a source close to them, said that it was because Shaun wanted to have kids and start a family, and Nina was focused on her career and wanted where that would go. And honestly, it's really sad because I think based on if that is true and if that is the reason they broke up, obviously it's not because they didn't love each other and they weren't in love. It's just because they had different visions of what they wanted, different outlook of what they wanted in their life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with either. I don't think there's anything wrong with him standing by the fact that he wants a family and he wants to have kids right away. And I don't think there's anything wrong with her wanting to chase her career and see where it goes because she is on an upward projection. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just sad. It makes me sad for them. Okay, taking another sip real quick because this one's interesting. Okay. Wuthering Heights. Okay. Wuthering Heights. I need to, and if you're just listening to this, I put quotation, like air quotation signs up because that is the title of the movie, Wuthering Heights, starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. I think we really need to be paying attention to the quotation marks, and I can't take credit for this theory because I did hear someone on TikTok come up with this theory, and if this is true, I actually like it because I think it makes a lot of sense. So obviously the new teaser trailer for Wuthering Heights came out and people have a lot to say about it, like for a lot of different reasons, but everyone noticed the quotation marks around Wuthering Heights, the title. And so there is a theory that Margot Robbie's character, that it's actually, let me start with this. It's actually not an actual adaptation of the book. They think that Margot Robbie's character read the book and she's imagining herself as Kathy's character. Okay. It would explain one thing that people are really upset about. They're upset that they feel like the characters were whitewashed. I don't know why I put quotation marks. They were whitewashed, specifically Jacob Elordi's character, Heathcliff, because in the book, he's described as a dark-skinned gypsy. So I know everyone, at least I've seen on TikTok, would have loved Dev Patel to have played him. So that could explain it. Okay, that could explain it if, this theory is correct. Also, it explains the costume designs. The costume designs are not in line with the era or the time frame of Wuthering Heights. So it could make sense that Margot Robbie's character read the book a few years, 10, 15, whatever years after, the book came out, and she's imagining that it's her life, and she's created this idea in her head that Wuthering Heights is literally her life. I mean, we've all done it. We've all read a rom-com or we read books. I love reading. I read every night, and you picture it, you imagine it, and she got so fucking obsessed, so she took it to the next level. So yeah, I think that would be really interesting if that's the case. And I know a lot of people have already watched the movie. They've done like pre-screenings and it got really mixed reviews. People were a little weirded out by it. I've heard it's hot, steamy, sexual, but I'm actually excited to see it. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of Wuthering Heights, Jacob Elordi and Olivia are back together. Wasn't she just with Glenn Powell? I don't know. It kind of seems like poor Glenn. Actually, not poor Glenn. This is karma for what he did to Gigi, okay? It kind of seems like he was just a little rebound, and then Jacob Elordi called her up and was like, hey, no, because he saw that she was with Glenn Powell, and then they got back together because she was at his movie premiere for Frankenstein. So yeah, I guess they're back on and poppin'. Okay, another show that I have been obsessed with because I honestly just put it on as a background TV show thinking it was going to be all right, but I actually love is Love Thy Nader. It's a reality TV show and it follows Brooks Naders and her 3 other sisters, and I just think it's so fucking good. It's giving like early Keeping Up with the Kardashian, but Gen Z. And I absolutely love it because it's a very fun sister dynamic. As someone who has 2 sisters very close in age, I'm obsessed with like the sister dynamic where it's like one moment you guys are like fighting, screaming like, you suck, I hate you, like pulling each other's hair. They don't really pull each other's hair, but you know, sisters fucking do that. And the next moment it's like, I would fucking kill a bitch for my sister. Don't ever fucking cross her. It is so fucking good. So I'm not gonna get into the show, but I'm gonna leave that little sprinkle of that there and just say that it's a good fucking show. And I really hope they come out with a second season because I binged it and I am now obsessed with them. And yeah. Okay. The very last news, slightly extra headline that I have, is kind of a little crazy. So Kanye West, I saw that his documentary just dropped and I saw a lot of people went to go watch it in theaters. I have not watched it. I have seen clips here and there on TikTok. However, I did see one clip. I need a glass of wine for this. Sorry. I need a glass of wine for this because I feel like it was kind of intense of him yelling, going off on Kris Jenner. And Kris Jenner pretty much like, cause he's yelling at her, pretty much asking, like, not asking, yelling, did you contribute to my mental health issues or something along those lines? And Kris is saying, yeah, I did. And she starts crying and she's like, but I love you. And she starts crying. And that was really heavy and that was really sad. And it was a very intense scene to watch on TikTok. So I can imagine how insane the rest of the documentary is, but I feel really bad for both of them on both sides because you can just tell from Chris's side that she really just loves him and wants him to get better. And you can, from Kanye's side, see that this person is mentally not okay and that he needs help. And I think at this point he was saying that he was off his meds. He had gotten off his meds. And so overall, just really sad. I want to watch the documentary. Apparently, it just shows the decline from literally just from like start, how he declined, went downhill. So yeah, that's crazy. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in to my very first episode of Slightly Extra. If you've made it this far, you are a real one. That was crazy. I was definitely nervous, but it was a lot of fun. And yeah, just to give you a little sneak peek of what's to come, it won't just be me. Don't worry. You won't have to listen to me blab for an hour, even if you were to tune in again. Maybe you listened to this and you were like, yeah, no. But anyway, if you decide you want to come back, I want to keep talking about things that women deal with, things that matter. I'm going to have friends on, experts on. For my next episode, I'm having a very special friend of mine who's also a doctor. She's a neuropsychologist, and we're going to be talking about the good girl trap and comparing ourselves to others. So that's a really good one. If you're a people pleaser, if you are the eldest daughter, if you've always been a perfectionist and you compare yourself to others or you struggle with falling into that trap, I think you're really going to love the next episode. I also want to talk about women's health, women in business, women friendships, women's relationships. I don't know. We deal with so much shit. PMSing, sex life. Yeah, we're going to get into sex life. Okay, let's fucking do it. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be fun. If you have any ideas of what you think would be fun or good to talk about or meaningful, I want to make this fun, but also make this very meaningful for everyone listening. Not just educational and obviously come with like statistics and facts and my own personal experiences. But if you're tuning in each episode, I want to make sure it's something that resonates with you and something that you'll learn something and take something away from it. So yeah, and of course, we're still going to talk about our pop culture stuff every episode a little bit at the end because I love that shit and it's fun to talk about. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you if you've stayed till the end and see you next time. Bye.